This episode of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast is brought to you by JList.com. The New Year's is fast approaching. You can now pre-order 2020 calendars from JList.com. Show off your anime addiction with an anime calendar. You can get calendars from series such as JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, My Hero Academia, Fruits Basket, Evangelion, Attack on Titan, Yudu Camp, and more. Pre-order now and you can get 22% off. Head over to JList.com or their safe for work site, jbox.com, and get yourself an anime calendar and also help out the podcast. So let's go ahead and get on into the podcast.
You're listening to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Take your anime addiction to the next level at aaapodcast.com/join. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Hey guys, welcome to the 492nd episode of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast, where I screw everything up.
No, we both screw it up.
And we are also here just dedicated to making your anime addiction so much worse. I am Mandy, and we are missing a Mitsugi today. It's gonna be a wild ride.
This is gonna be an adventure.
Yeah. For sure. I only have one monitor and running everything by myself. It's gonna be crazy, so wish me luck. We also won't have drops today because I don't have Mitsugi's audio equipment, so just keep that in mind as we are going forward. But yeah, let's just go ahead and jump into it. It's gonna be super laid back today. Mason and I are going to be talking about seasonal anime, things that we have watched recently, things that are coming up that we're excited about, or maybe we've seen the first episode of. That's gonna be later on. We also have a review of Fruits Basket 2019 coming up. And so right now, let's just go ahead and get rid of some of the
housekeeping.
Housekeeping. That's the word I was looking for. Housekeeping of the podcast. I am Mandy. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I am Mason. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm getting flashbacks. My first podcast on here was when Kazuo was running it instead of Mitz, and that was as long as this goes better than that, we'll be doing okay.
It's gonna be something, so wish us luck.
Yes.
Also, if you would like to join us at the AA Podcast, you can go to aapodcast.com/join, and you can get so much bonus content from us. We have hentai episodes, we have hobby addict episodes, we have after parties. We just recorded a hobby addicts where I talked about AI Somnium files, and Mason talked about taking his what's it called again?
JLPT, the Japanese Language Proficiency Test. And it was actually a really good episode. I had fun. I had lots of fun talking about it.
Yeah, it was just the two of us, and we had a lot to talk about. You can also go to our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/AA podcast to meet up with your other addicts there and talk. You can also go to our Discord where we have so much stuff going on, and you can go to our website aapodcast.com to click a link there to go join our Discord, and we have a bunch of groups going on there. We have my manga club, which is if you go to our Discord and go down to the manga club chat, you can check the pin notes there. We just discussed Chihaya Furu, which was a lot of fun. Everyone loves Chihaya Furu.
Everybody.
And our next club will be October 16th, where we'll be reading 20th Century Boy. Why don't you head on over with your social media stuff?
Sure. So I just wanted to announce that we have a new voice of social media, which is Caroline, Caroline. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it right off the bat, who has filled the massive shoes of Icy Rose and is doing a great job. So if you've seen much better content from Twitter and Facebook lately, that's because I'm not doing it. Mandy is still doing a bunch of good work, but I have relinquished controls. We also have an updated Family Feud link that you can check out That'll be reposted to everywhere. You guys gave us a great response last time, so much so that we got some extra bonus fun time questions that we're throwing back out there. Also, a reminder, you have until October 26th to share your orange squash art, because I'm holding that pumpkin carving contest.
I might actually participate in this.
Oh my goodness, I cannot wait to see your and everyone else's
I kind of want to attempt Killua, but I also kind of think it'd be funny if you did Hisoka.
Hisoka is much more clown themed.
Well, I was thinking of like play with where the light is coming from.
Ooh, I see. That's a good idea.
It'd be really stupid. I don't trust myself.
But also on the Discord we have the anime club. So this Wednesday coming up, which you still have time to attend if you're listening live, we're talking about Textualize, which is a great, very unique, spooky, gruesome, over the top, ridiculous anime. So come check that out. That will be on October 9th at 10 p.m. EST on the Discord. So come check it out.
Yeah, I already saw some comments in the anime club chat about how gruesome it is.
Yeah. People are like, what did I just get into?
Yeah, I really want to participate in this one. I've been really bad about the recent clubs, but this one I really want to try to get to. Also, please be sure to follow us on Twitch so you can get updates on when we are streaming or when we screw up streams.
You can watch us, or when we do a test stream in the middle of the week and get like 15 to 20 people to come just hang out. Yeah. Oh my goodness, so much fun.
It was great. We had fun, and we told them to come to Manga Club.
Exactly.
We love you guys. I love you guys, at least.
I kind of like you guys.
I didn't want to speak for you, but... so let's just go ahead and jump into the podcast. I unfortunately don't have drops today, like I said earlier, so we're going to try and do them ourselves. So, how do we want to do big news of the week?
Oh, I kind of forgot how this one goes.
Yeah, me too. I'm not even going to attempt
big news of the week.
Big news of the week. No, that's so mean.
That was good. That wasn't bad.
All right, so this week in Big News of the Week, we have Viz Media is licensing some giant manga series, and they are releasing some manga series that were well known in manga in Japan, but have not received an English release until just now. One of those is Fushigi Byako Senkai, and this is the first Fushigi book that has released since Genbu Kaiden came out in 2014. And in the Fushigi series, we have 4 different priestesses from 4 of the Chinese gods. There's Suzaku, Seiryu, Genbu, and Byako. Did I say Suzaku? Suzaku, yeah, sorry. Suzaku, Genbu, Byako, Seiryu. I wasn't sure if I messed this up. In the original series, we had Suzaku and Seiryu, and then she released, Yubatase released the Genbu Kaiden, and then she did put out a Byako one, but it never received a Western release. Finally, that's changing. We're going to get that over here. And it says the final Fushigi story in the universe of the 4 gods is about to begin. The year is 1923. Suzuno Osugi's father Tako warns her to stay away from the universe of the 4 gods, telling her it's a book that only men can touch. Tako worked with the late Inosuke Okuda, who translated its text. He knows that in order to enact its story, the book needs one last heroine, the priestess of Byako, which is something that I'm really looking forward to. I have all of the original series in the Genbu Kaiden, so this one I'm really looking forward to. The next one is Maison Ikoku Collection, and this is from the acclaimed author Rumiko Takahashi, who is the author of Inuyasha, Urusei Yatsura, and Ranma. And this is a classic romantic comedy about finding a path in life. And Yusaku Godai didn't get accepted into college on the first try, so he's studying to retake the entrance exams. But living in a dilapidated building full of eccentric and noisy tenants is making it hard for him to achieve his goals. Now that a beautiful woman has moved in to become the next resident manager, Godai is driven to distraction. And this did have an anime release back in 1986. This is the first time that the anime is getting Western release, so look forward to that. And then,
I have not seen most of Takahashi's works, but this one sounds super interesting.
Yeah. Have you ever experienced Urusei?
Only in like clips and like synthwave, vaporwave, like mashups on YouTube.
Gotcha. Well, there are two others here that I know one you are very excited for.
Of course.
Take it away.
Well, actually, both of them are. So speaking of 20th Century Boys, the author Naokori Urasawa has Muji Rushi, The Sign of Dreams, which is a tale of crushing debt, a broken marriage, and a painting that can fix all. And essentially, it tells the story of Kasumi and her dad, and they, I guess, like they go to steal this painting that can fix all their problems. I don't know if you have much more to say about it, but it just seems like this massive paragraph of this epic adventure.
I'm excited for any Urasawa work because I just love his
Exactly.
work, so.
I honestly know very little about this work,
Yeah.
but just hearing his name attached to it is all I need to be excited.
When I looked at the front cover of this manga, it reminded me so much of Pluto. There was a girl in it that reminded me so much of Pluto. I'm really curious to check this one out.
Where in his discography? Oh, this is very recent.
Oh,
this
is it? Okay.
only a couple years old, so
Awesome.
I'm glad we're getting it so early.
Yeah.
But something that we're not getting early, which is long since been due, is finally we're getting the adaptation of Ping Pong, which has been out for decades, but we're finally getting an English release of it. Obviously, one of my favorite anime of all time, done by Taiyo Matsumoto, who he wrote. What's the Takemitsu Samurai? I'm a big fan of that. He did Tech on Concrete. But this is the work I'm most known for.
Too?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. He recently came out with a manga called Cats at the Louvre, and I was like, I gotta get this.
Yes. This guy has a very unique art style.
Yeah.
And this is the anime done by, obviously, Yuasa from Devilman and Tatami Galaxy, but this is probably one of my favorite sports works, let alone manga or anime specific. It's all about talent, what it means to have it, trying hard. Tells the story essentially of two main characters, Smile and Peko, who just learn to grow up through ping pong and come across life's challenges through this great sport. And I highly recommend checking it out. And it, like I said, it's a unique art style, but oh my goodness, it's got so much charm and character. I love it. So, fan of the series, pick up the manga.
Yeah, I will probably collect this one. How many volumes is there? Do you know?
5, because
it's only 5.
I own all 5 of them. Yeah,
this is one of past where the anime ended or not.
No, it's pretty much a full adaptation. So this is one of 2 manga series that I love enough to have all the volumes of. Awesome. Also because it's short enough. So yeah, only 5 volumes. Please check it out. It's good stuff.
Awesome. I love how when Mitz is away, I just choose manga stuff to talk about.
Yes.
I'm not trying to steal the podcast or anything.
This is the manga show.
It was going to be the mem show, but then Enzo unfortunately couldn't show up at the last second, so now it's just the show.
It's contemplate it. Think about it.
Let's go ahead and jump into my Mandidake segment, where if you're looking at the overlay right now, we did have Enzi Senpai Notice Me Corner, but unfortunately he can't show up, so we're gonna skip to Mandidake. No drop, so welcome to the Mandidake segment, where I show up some anime merchandise that I have collected over time and wanted to show off. And the other hosts will also have things to show off as well at some point in time. I know Mason has one that a Halloween thing that he really wants to show up. I'm really excited for that one too, because I've been wanting to collect that. Anyways, so in this week of the Mandidake, I have the Art Effects J Mononoke Kusuryuri figure. And he is
my goodness,
gorgeous.
The crowd goes wild. And by crowd, I mean me.
I just have to replace my face for the entire podcast.
But people who are listening, you are missing out. Oh my goodness, I'm so hyped for this to finally be unveiled because it's so cool looking.
This is actually the figure that made me want to start this segment because I just wanted to show it off. But for people who are listening at home, you can check out pictures on our social media. You can go to our Discord live stream chat and check out pictures there. If you are subscribed to us, you can check out our show notes to see pictures there as well. And we'll also have stuff up on Twitter and Facebook later in the week. But this one is Artifacts J-Line, and it's manufactured by Kotobukiya, and it is of Kusuriri from the show Mononoke. Mononoke, the samurai horror stories one, not Princess Mononoke. But try to give you a little brief description of what the figure actually is. It's sort of like a black frame, round frame that is sitting on a pedestal, and the frame itself, the very back of it, has a very clear plastic that with very bright colors on it, and it's mimicking like a sliding screen. And sitting very relaxed on the frame is Kusuriri, the medicine man from the show Mononoke, and he just has one foot propped up with no shoe on, and the other hanging loose with his sandal on. And then in his right hand he has his sword that you see in the show, and his left he has, sitting propped up on his knee, he's holding a smoking pipe. And what's really cool is that in the sliding screen there is artwork of smoke coming up in the background, and when you look at it from the front, it lines up with the pipe that he's holding in his hand. So I love the composition of this figure. It's gorgeous. I love Kusuriri's relaxed pose, and I like that the smoke from the background looks like it's sliding, like it's part of the sliding screen, but looks like it's coming out of his pipe, and the vivid colors just all bring this character to life, and it's just as surreal as the show itself. If you haven't seen the show, I highly recommend it. It's so much fun, and this is great for Halloween as well.
It's perfect for this month.
Yeah, we are in spooky season, so I know all of my manga minutes will have a horror theme to them, and I think Mason's Waifu Wars will as well.
Oh, they just might. They just might.
Yeah, so that's why I definitely wanted to do this figure for this month. The sculptor of this one is Ito Yoshinori, who worked on the original Legend of the Galactic Hero figures, and I love that a lot of the sections in his outfit, the sword, the pipe, were all painted over with a metallic finish. So like on the pipe itself, and like the button, or like the medallion on his kimono, and in the sword itself, there's a lot of very small details in there. The cord around his waist has great texture on it, and to make it look very coarse. The figure comes loose. The sandal has another sandal that you can pose next to it. That one comes loose. The pipe is loose and the sword is loose, so you have to pose all of those yourself. The screen is transparent, so what you can actually do is put a light behind it. You can put some kind of light or a candle, and it will illuminate the entire sliding screen. It's just so cool looking, and I just find this one to be a work of art. I highly recommend, if you're listening to this, if you're not listening live, you're just listening on iTunes or any of the other streaming platforms, please look at pictures of this. It's gorgeous. It's my favorite piece of anime merchandise in my entire collection, and you can still purchase it on jlist.com, and there's a few other sites as well.
It's majestic. I went to Google to find like pictures to post for our live chat, and I was just like scrolling through, like, oh, I can't find the best one, like which is the best angle, or which captures like his facial like smugness and smirk and relaxation all at once. Oh my goodness, it's lovely. I adore it.
We're gonna just go ahead and move right into our trivia stuff, which Mason will take over. We have a very relaxed show today with our main topic. We're just gonna talk the entire time about anime, so look forward to that.
So first we have our weekly trivia, which you can find on our website at aapodcast.com, which is just the hub of all information. The answer to this week is from Marvel Anime's Wolverine, which I had not seen or knew existed before the trivia. So you might even find new shows from here.
Yeah.
The winner for the week is Nelly, 1876. I think the theme remains anime heroes in honor of One Punch Man, and you can go over there to check it out. But for you, dear listener, we also have a special in-show weekly trivia question, which you have until the end of our news break to contemplate and answer. And that is, Takeshi Naoko, the mangaka for Sailor Moon, is married to another manga artist. Who is her husband? Think about that and we'll let you know what it is.
Hey all you anime stud muffins out there, this is Mitsugi, and it's time for a bizarre, twisted news break where Mitsugi doesn't review any of the articles before he reads them. Leading us off, let's see what we've got. It looks like the website Mora has published the top 10 downloaded summer 2019 anime themes. Let's see what's leading out the list here. It looks like How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift? The opening Onegai Muscle is coming in at number 1. Demon Slayer, the opening theme Gurenge, number 2, and Fire Force Inferno coming in at number 3. If you're fans of these shows, you better check out those theme songs. They're probably sounding pretty hot, and people want to download those more than anything else. Next up on the list, Chihayafuru is topping a list of the most anticipated fall 2019 anime by Book Live, a poll that is done in Japan and had over 1,200 people participate. Looks like the top 5 shows, starting from number 5, are Kodoku no Gourmet, a live-action series, 7 Deadly Sins, Wrath of the Gods, Sword Art Online, Alicization, War of Underworld, My Hero Academia, and also, as I said, Chihayafuru Season 3 coming in at number 1. All of these being sequels of other shows. Next up on the list, it looks like there is even more, yet yes, unbelievably, even more anime and game-related cafes in Tokyo. It's a wonder that Japan's capital city of Tokyo isn't nothing but cafes by now, but now Kirby, your favorite little pink character from Nintendo games, his restaurant has been so successful that they're going to make it a permanent establishment in Tokyo. It's in the Tokyo Solamachi complex. So if you haven't been there yet and you're in Tokyo, or maybe you're going to be in Tokyo in the future and you're a big fan of Kirby, well, time to stop by the Kirby Cafe and get yourself a big plate of pink marshmallows. Next up on the list, Luigi and Mario RPG developer Alpha Dream is filing for bankruptcy. Looks like the developer is about $4.3 million in debt as of the end of March 2018. So this income reportedly has dwindled throughout the years, and the company has, of course, run into financial problems. The developer is known for its Mario and Luigi RPG series of games, which I've never heard of. They also produced 3 games in the Hamtaro franchise and also some Bowser-related games. But looks like that game company is no more. This was Mitsugi, and this was your anime news break. Hey, I didn't do so bad. Now, time to get back to the podcast. Are you looking to expand your anime collection?
Are you looking for a place where you can purchase all of your anime desires?
Ooh, then check out jlist.com.
At jlist.com, you can stock up on amazing merchandise. Want more cute moe figures, nendoroids, apparel, or even cute anime-related mugs? You can find all of them there.
That's right. They even have a snack box. Every month, JList will select the newest and best Japanese snacks and send them right to your doorstep. No subscription or long-term commitment is required. Just purchase whatever box you think looks appealing, and that's all there is to it.
JList.com even has items for those naughty anime addicts. Hentai, doujins, erotic visual novels, and even anime-related toys are available for you to use on your very own, or with a very special anime-addicted loved one.
JList.com has everything an anime fan could possibly want. Just head over to their website and check it out.
JList.com, your friend in Japan since 1996.
What did the Anime Addicts Anonymous hosts think of Hatalia cosplayers? In the Church of Mitsugi, we will line up all of the Hatalia cosplayers in the front of the church. Anime. And we will have a trapdoor where they will fall into the pits of hell. Addicts.
You need to give them a chance for salvation.
No.
They can revoke their Hatalianess.
There is no chance for their souls.
What if,
Anonymous.
What if they take off their costume and burn it upon
their
your
souls,
altar?
It has already tainted them. Podcast. Visit the Anime Addicts at aaapodcast.com and iTunes. And you too can join the Church of Mitsugi.
My name is Brett Weaver, voice of Toji Suzuhara. You know, from Evangelion. I'm a total anime addict.
right, and we're back from our break. And before we went on break, we had an in-show trivia question. I messed up weekly. Weekly trivia question. Where the question was, Takeuchi Naoko, the mangaka for Sailor Moon, is married to another manga artist. Who is her husband? And the answer is Yoshihiro Togashi, or the mangaka for Hunter x Hunter. So up next, we have my manga minute. I was muted on Discord. I apologize, Mason.
Oh, thank you.
But they could hear me on stream. I apologize.
Okay, good. Very funny. I also agree tremendously. I think that birds are not real.
Man, did you see that website? It's so nonsense.
Okay.
It has become a joke
Anyway.
in our Warcraft raid. No, it's every week it's birds aren't real.
Oh.
But yeah, I apologize. I don't have all of the audio equipment, so I have to personally mute and unmute everything. Anyways, moving on, we have my manga minutes. Just imagine some gorgeous Natsume music behind this, right?
Exactly.
I'm sure it will sound great on iTunes. This is Mandy's Manga Minute, where I take a minute to tell you about a manga and help you find something new to read. And this one is called the Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service. This is a crazy manga, and actually I think Mason also has it as well. But 5 students at a Buddhist college in Japan realize the job market is tough these days, among the living, that is. But their unique spiritual and scientific talents might help them get work from the dead. For they can contact the spirits of corpses and speak with them. And if a body is found hanging from a tree or lying in an alley, it's probably got a story to tell. And if the five form the Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service, specializing in carrying out the last wishes of their dead clients, so their souls can move on. But the Kurosagi gang are magnets for weirdness, not just corpses, and every case gets them involved in disturbing personal obsessions, bizarre modern Tokyo fads, and strange rituals of old Japan, and often all at once. That was a really weird synopsis. I actually didn't read it before I started, but the Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service is a horror comedy manga written by Eiji Otsuka and illustrated by Hosue Yamazaki. It was released back in 2000 and still currently publishing, with 14 volumes released in English. The manga is comprised of episodic short stories that follow a group of students with unique abilities that allow them to interact with dead bodies in some way. One can speak to the dead by just touching them, another one can douse for them, and one who is great at embalming. And there are a few other characters in there as well. One of them, I'm not really sure what he does. I'm curious to see if he gets some development later on. But each story is focused on a different corpse and figuring out what this body would like to be laid to rest. And so naturally, they do run into a lot of murder cases that result in them trying to figure out who murdered this person. And it's interesting how important the dark comedy is to this manga, and it's a story that forces you to come face to face with the harsh reality of death and our inability to choose sometimes where or when we wish to die. But it also tries to weave some humor into that as well. And this manga does come with massive content warnings. There's a sticker on the front of this book that says parental advisory for a reason. There's some very gruesome, violent stuff in this manga at times because, like I said earlier, they do come across murder scenes. But I have found what I've read so far to be interesting and extremely unique. So I do plan on reading more, but just know that if you're planning on buying this, super content warning for this. But I think it's also a good book to pick up if you're wanting something for Halloween. That's just why I'm doing it this season. This season I'm going to try to do a horror manga every week. Some maybe not as spooky as others, but we'll see, and hopefully that sounded interesting.
It is interesting. I can vouch for it.
Yeah, what did you think of this manga? I know you read it as well.
It's like dark, but it's never like depressing in my mind.
No,
like,
yeah, there's a lot of
everyone. Yeah, exactly, and the characters are very. I don't know. There's like a cool like cleanness and like I I know. I like a lot of the characters. They're very realistic, and it helps that they're like adult college age kids.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely maturity to it that is fresh and exciting.
Yeah. Awesome. So why don't we just jump into Mason's Waifu Wars? Man, trivia for everyone listening. Mason's Waifu Wars drop. I actually wrote that. Do you remember when we were like trying to figure out what we wanted the drop to be, and it was just nonsense?
That was that it like metamorphized into like a completely different concept than what it began as.
Yeah, I wrote it as a joke, and I thought it was hilarious. And you're like, no, let's do that.
No, it was way better than what I had come up with.
Because I had just finished watching the K-On! Movie, and I was like, cake will be thrown, tea will be served. And you're like,
and that made it
good. Let's go with it.
Send it. All right. Well, I think we're doing it.
Go for it.
Epic drop plays. Boop 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 boop.
Boom.
that should be the drop. Welcome back to another episode of Waifu Wars. With September behind us, so is the category of waifus that would break you. That was a fun category, but with that gone, I think everyone saw what this next theme was coming from a mile away, and it is none other than spoopy, scary Halloween waifus. So for the next 4 weeks, we will be exploring the various persuasions of characters whose form isn't quite human. They might exude a wild tenacity that is frightening, or they might just look like they enjoy a visit to their local Spirit Halloween, which is a character we might actually be discussing in our review today.
Yeah.
But what you might not see coming is the waifu that kicks off this theme, because it simply has got to be Toru Hagakure from My Hero Academia. This is for those who might not recognize her by name, is the stealth hero
or looks.
Invisible Girl. Yeah.
May not recognize how she looks.
She is completely invisible at all times, and she is really the hidden gem that brings a lot to the table. For those of you who are not watching this live stream, I'm showing to you what she looks like right now. For those who are watching, you'll have to use your imagination. So I don't think I need to go over My Hero Academia, what the show is. I mean, simply put, it's probably the most popular show in America right now, especially airing this season. And it's been like the new shonen since its adaptation began in 2016. It's done by Studio Bones. And it's interesting because instead of like most long-running shonen where they just go until they burn out, like they keep the show airing in like yearly 1 to 2 quarter installments, which keeps the animation quality decent. And it's like a pendulum of hype because you know it's coming, but they kind of know when to jump in and out of arcs. So it's pretty well done, and its appeal is obviously felt through all ranks of the anime fandom. It's got a massive cast of characters, and all of them have their own personality. It's no understatement to say that there are probably more waifus in this one franchise than many other shows have even characters. I mean, even if you like rescope what a waifu is just for like Halloween themed stuff, like you've got great options in Mina, which is like Pinky, Himiko, the dagger lady from the League of Villains, Fumikage with his dark shadow. He's a pretty good waifu. But regardless of any category, Toru is just the best of the best. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, Mason, I don't know what you see in her. We'll sit right down.
What about Frog Girl?
She's not really spoopy, is she?
Oh, no. If we're talking about spoopy, no.
Oh, well, yeah, if you're talking about regular waifus, I guess she's all... I don't know. Frappy? Frappy?
Is that her name? I'm sorry. I
think so. Everyone likes her, but she's all right. She's the safe bet. I'm going to give you some simpletons, though, some insight, so you can perceive Toru's majesty. First of all, she's just so bubbly. She's so chipper. She's so easygoing and a joy to quote-unquote watch. She always has a positive attitude and is a team player. She's even a team cheerleader. She'll go into any role you need. She makes a great sidekick in this game of love. You know, she's always there for you. And her concept and her power fit so well into the show because it allows even more of the cast to be on screen without crowding up each shot. It lets the animators take it easy every now and then. Like, she's really a blessing in real life. and all around.
Really, that's what the animators wanted. They're like, yes, we ain't got to do nothing for this character.
Exactly.
Great.
Easy.
Perfect.
Wrap this
Great,
one up,
best
boys.
character.
Like, you don't even need the key animators for it. It's great. Her actual design, though, like, legitimately, her design is stupendous as well. Like, her hero costume of, like, the baby blue gloves with, like, pink flourishes is, like, a through line through her whole personal style. Because when they show her, like, room in, like, later seasons, like, it's the same, like, color combination, and it fits her tidy, but, like, quirky, adorable room. It's great. There's just such, like, a depth to her design that you might not account for. In the words of Bo Burnham, I love her eyes and their bluish, brownish, greenish, pinkish color. I'm not sure which one it is, but they're fantastic. And she even has that moe factor. Yeah. When she gets embarrassed, because she has to, like, sometimes change out of her normal clothes into her fully unrevealing outfit. And she, like, gets embarrassed about that, even though obviously no one could see her at all to begin with. And it, like, toes the line between this practicality that is immensely relatable and the ridiculousness of it. Like, if you knew you were invisible, I think you'd still feel a little bit embarrassed if you had to, like, change like that, you know, in a public space. I mean, let's be honest. Any character that is willing to run around wearing essentially no clothing is truly a frightening one and worthy of our first spoopy waifu of the month. That's my thoughts on that.
They're wondering if eventually you'll do a bracket of all of your waifus. So there is an ultimate war to figure out who's the best among them.
So that is enticing. I think in December, we might do, like, some shows that have a large cast of, like, legit waifus. Like, I'm thinking Monogatari series might have a December installment. I'm thinking maybe JoJo might have a winter.
Jaeon for, like, Jaeon. We've done K-On, but then I was trying to say JoJo. JoJo, you mean like
JoJo might have a
boys,
good
or
yeah, might
okay, I was
do
gonna
that.
say there's not really many women in JoJo.
Nisekoi might have a ranking system. We could do some Haikyuu boys. That'd be a good rating system. Let me know. If not, we could just do or like a seasonal or yearly waifu thing would be something else. That
we took all of your previous waifus and put them into, like, a super fight game where we have to, like, pull them out with cards and, like,
that's very true.
Debate who wins.
That'd
be
it's
fun.
very possible. Yeah, but I think we got some good picks lined up for October. So
awesome.
stay
Looking forward to
tuned.
It. Well, thank you. Now, we're just going to go into our main topic, which is Mason and I are just going to chat about anime. We're going to talk about what we have watched recently from the previous seasons, because I know I finished a ton of stuff, and I think you did as well. I know a lot of the things on my list are shows that are coming up for reviews, so I don't want to get too deep into them. I kind of just want to give up, like, or just talk about, like, my experience watching them. And I've also watched a couple of the first episodes, of some of the stuff that is currently airing this fall. And we'll just start with that. Do you just want start off with what some of the ones that I have, and then we can just chat about them?
Yeah, I think we should start about yours. We're just two friends meeting up after a weekend binging, talking about what we watched besides. Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, they just watch Fruits Basket, and they just watch, like, the show that they are reviewing. But oh no.
Oh, they know that.
Oh, I wish we were that sociable that we got out that much. But
they know that's not true for me. I just went
not
through
known.
Hunter craze.
Yes,
I watched everything Hunter that I could possibly find. So,
just digest it all.
Yeah. Actually, because of my Hunter binge, I was so far behind on the seasonal shows, because what I actually watch my shows as they're airing, and unless it's something that I'm just not really too hot on, and then I'll save it for the review. Like, sometimes that happens. Like, a show is just so boring to me, I'm like, I'll just watch it the week of the review. Or if it's something so dense, and I'm like, I'll forget all of this. So things I'm excited about, though, I watch week to week. And one that I started watching when it first started airing, and I finished this last week because it finally finished airing, was Carol and Tuesday. So I binged through, I think it was 16 to the end that I binged through this last weekend. And
Okay.
yeah, so have you watched any of it so far?
So I'm trying to look on my list to see how far I got. I think I got like 8 episodes in. I was really liking it, but then when it was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a double episode, it's gonna be a while till we get to review this.
Yeah.
I decided to like hold off on
Slow
it.
down, yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, when I watch, like, I like watching the show that we're about to review like right before we're about to review it,
I don't
unless
blame
like
you.
you said, it's like something that's just I can't skip out on, or like the hype cycle is really high on.
Yeah.
So I really was liking Curl and Tuesday, but then I was like, you know what, I don't think it'll be a great binge, but I'll definitely start it a couple weeks before our review. But I was really
Yeah.
digging it.
It's, yeah, especially when you said if the hype around it is so big. There are some times too where I have to watch a show weekly. Otherwise, it's gonna get spoiled all over Twitter. I won't even be able to look
That's
at
the
Twitter.
thing. So I didn't think like Curl
Shout
and
out
Tuesday
to Demon Slayer.
exactly. Like, I didn't think Carol and Tuesday would get spoiled for me. All I've been spoiled on are a bunch of like the performances
Right,
that go on, like the Mermaid Sisters and all that.
Oh man, that song is. I listen to it every day on my way to work.
If that
just
song
gets
had
me
a
in the mood
spirit
for
animal,
work.
that spirit animal would be your spirit
that
animal.
song is my spirit animal. Yeah, so for Carol and Tuesday, this was one of Enzo's picks, and Shinichiro Watanabe show about, if you haven't listened to it at all, it's now available on Netflix. At least I think the first half is available on Netflix. Is that how they're doing it? They broke it up into 2 parts?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so it's about these two. It's set in like a future where everyone is living on Mars, and there are these 2 girls who are who want to start a group together, like a musical group together, and they want to play very traditional music. But like in sort of this like futuristic world, everyone is creating electronic music, and they have AIs that are writing songs for them. So it's interesting to see how they want to, if they're even able to compete with music artists in this world. And for me, where I finished it, it took a direction that I wasn't expecting. Like,
Okay.
it'll be very interesting when we come to the review of it. Of course I can't say anything that's going to spoil anything about it, but I appreciate the message that I was trying to deliver, but I feel like somewhere along the way it lost focus of its original like goal. At least that's
I
my
wonder if
opinion of
that's
it.
I wonder if that's typical of like Watanabe works.
Yeah, I'm wondering that as well. But overall, I still enjoyed it, the hell out of it. The music is fantastic. The soundtrack is available on iTunes, and I downloaded that, and that's all I've been listening to this past week.
Major alert, people, ferret watch. We saw him. We got eyes on
you
the
give a
ferret.
ferret?
He's
Where
on the
was he?
move. We saw him. He just waddled across the floor.
Where'd he go?
People.
Did he go in the kitchen,
under
or
the
did he
couch?
go-
I think he went under the
Oh,
couch.
okay.
Sorry, that was that was
fine.
a very pressing
It's
concern.
very important.
Did the visuals hold up throughout the whole thing?
Yeah, I think so. Mhm.
Okay,
It
because
was
it's not like
gorgeous
an
the whole way through.
action-focused show, but they look really great with how the characters move and everything.
Yeah, it's the music performances were great, and I think that's why I just loved watching it. It's, I don't know, it was really. The one funny thing though is when you're listening to it in Japanese,
Okay, yeah.
you go from the Japanese voice artist, which is nothing like their English voice, like English vocal artist, and it's so funny, especially from the what's his name, Piotr.
Yeah, the like the dubstep
Yes, or
guy,
well,
right? The
he
producer?
wasn't really dubstep. No.
No, but like the electronic producer. The dude who with
Oh,
the
yeah. Kamiya Hiroshi.
yeah.
Yeah, he's like basically that guy in Grandma's Boy.
Yeah. So what would you say is like more, I don't want to say the word off-putting, but you know, you have a character who speaks in Japanese who's going to sing a song in English. Would you rather have, an English voice actress do that singing and have it sound more natural, or you want to hear the Japanese voice actor and actress and get perhaps a little bit of English in there?
No, I actually really enjoyed the songs, and because I don't want the songs to change. I actually really enjoyed them quite a bit. It's just they definitely didn't try to find a Japanese voice artist where it was like, or Seiyu would be like, oh yeah, I could believe that this is this person's voice. It's so completely different.
But you could also, I guess, chalk it up to, oh, they just sing with a different.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's a completely different. But it wasn't so bad that I was like, oh, this is awful. No, it was actually kind of funny to me. I was just laughing my ass off at some of them. I really want to watch it in English if they bring out an English dub of it. I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So, up next on my list, I finished Given. Did you watch any of Given?
I have not watched any of Given. I know that's another music show.
Yeah, another Enzo show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Know nothing about it really.
I was gonna check what studio did Given because I forgot. I know this is one that Enzo passed from the summer season, and that one just finished a few weeks ago. But this was by Lerche, who did... What other shows have Lerche done? Not many.
I can tell you I don't like them.
Oh, they did Asobi Asobase. That's funny.
That was good. That was a good one.
They also did like the new Kino's Journey. They did Scum's Wish.
Yeah.
Assassination Clash Room, anyways. But Given was a BL or boys love anime, and about these two boys who start in a band together, or one was already in the band, the other one joined and wanted to learn how to play guitar, and then found out that he's actually a pretty good singer, and so he starts learning guitar with his name was Mafuyu, and he starts learning guitar from I think his name is Ritsuka, and Ue no Yama, I can't remember whichever one he went by, but he starts learning guitar from him, and he starts singing in the band, and gradually they form a bond. And other than like some really strange animation in it, because the performances did have like CG hands performing instruments with anime bodies, like 2D. That was really strange. Outside of the animation part, I actually grew to really enjoy the series, though. It had a really adorable confession scene in it that just brought a giant smile on my face. I loved it. That moment. Is
it like a slow build kind of series where it takes a little while to get your heels into it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The drama in that series hit a lot harder than I was expecting it to. I did read some of the manga, and it had hints of some darker themes, but I wasn't really completely sure what happened at the point that I left off in the manga. And it had a few moments where I was like, where is this going to go? But I liked how it concluded. And it definitely does focus more on the drama than it does the music. So I'm interested to hear what Enzo thinks about this one as well. But you didn't watch any of it?
I have not seen a single minute. I have not even seen the PV. I've just been sitting on the sideline for this one because it's like we mentioned, it's not something that was being talked a bunch, or I was like, oh, it's gonna get spoiled for me. So I'll wait. Till
now, what I'm curious if you did finish or start was Demon Slayer.
I had watched the first, I think, 5 episodes or 6 episodes when it had started. I was watching that with our Saturday watch party in the Discord, and I was really digging it. It was definitely a shonen that was digestible, and I was feeling it. Yeah. And then it got to, once again, kind of similar with Curl and Tuesday, where it was like, oh, this is going to be a 20-something episode series. It's going to be a while since we review this. Let me put it in my back pocket, save it for later, because this is going to be an extremely easy binge. This is going to be, I'm going to put it on, and 20 episodes later, I'm going to be like, oh, that was it? Because it's just gonna fly, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I have not been spoiled to anything yet.
Oh man, you're so lucky. That's because you don't have Twitter.
I don't use Twitter or Facebook or the internet.
You don't use the internet at all?
I don't use the internet at all. I've watched 5 episodes. I downloaded the opening song when it came out because that opening is fantastic.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, that opening told me everything I need to know about the show. It's going to have great art and animation. It's going to just be well produced, and I'm just excited for when we get to review it, because then I get to finally watch it. So give me your thoughts on it.
Yeah. I finished Demon Slayer, and this was one of my passes, and I also read some of the manga because I did it for a manga minute, and it was funny because when I only read like a couple volumes of the manga. I didn't get real deep into it. I was just like, I just read enough to be able to do a manga minute on it because it was coming up, and I was like, for seasonal shows, and I was like, I kind of want to make sure that this is on our list, and I want to know a little bit about it. So I didn't get very far in the manga, and it was funny because I was like, man, this Demon Slayer is such a generic ass name. And I was like,
it really is.
Yeah. I was like, even the story doesn't sound very, creative or unique. I was like, guy joins a group to hunt demons. What exactly is this? But this was a good example of how much a studio can really affect your overall enjoyment.
Oh, absolutely.
The visuals in this were fantastic, and I had so much fun watching the series. It's funny how, like, if this had been adapted by anybody else other than UFO Table, I think it would have been extremely average, because I don't know if the story is strong enough to carry it. I do like some of the characters, but yeah, I think if it didn't have these amazing visuals behind it, like the wild camera movements, and yeah, it had some very unique demons as well. Just fantastic visuals overall, and I think that if anyone else had done it, it probably would have been worse. UFO Table did just a fantastic job with it, but yeah, I had so much fun watching it outside of like a few cringy comedy moments.
Awesome. Now I'm excited to watch it. Yeah, I have heard about a character who's a little bit loud, a little bit yelly,
a little loud.
But then I'm like, you know what? Well, I'm the annoying character of this podcast, so I guess I can. I guess I can.
You can't take my job.
With him.
I am here to just annoy.
Nice. Well, I'm excited to check it out. Hopefully, I didn't overhype it for myself, and is shonen saved? That's the question.
Zenitsu is best boar, so I'll say again.
Good to know. I'm ready.
I had a lot of fun with it, and it's definitely going to continue. Where it ended, it was definitely like a to be continued. So
okay, it's not over yet.
Right. So I can't wait to get to that review so we can actually dive into it and discuss it in like a spoiler zone. But when the next season comes out, I will definitely be watching it because I'm curious to see where it goes. And stop spoiling shit on Twitter. I believe all of you. All of our listeners are perfect and great, right? What are some of the things that you watched?
Oh, I was okay. Yeah.
Oh, do you want to talk about next one? We can go to the next one.
We can really briefly. I mean, this is the only thing that you've talked about that I've actually seen.
Oh no.
Like 80% of.
Oh, you didn't watch all of it?
I ran out of time. Okay. But we can talk about it if you want.
Yeah, so I also finished the second season of Modazushi, which is a Chinese anime. I don't care what anyone says. I passed it because it's anime. But
pass it because it's good.
Yeah, real good. When I did the impression of season 2, I did briefly go over season 1, and this is by a Chinese company named GC May, and it's based on a novel, and it's just I love the first season so much, and the second season answered so many questions that I had about the first one.
Yeah.
It's only 8 episodes, so blew through it super quick. It was a very fast binge for me. What did you think of it so far, of what you watched?
So I watched 5 episodes this morning.
Nice.
And they're about the same quality and consistency and as everything as season 1. I'm a sucker for like the type of instrumentation they use for the soundtrack music, and the backgrounds look fantastic.
Gorgeous.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I just wanted to talk about it now, so when we do the review on this, and people are like, "Well, I've never heard of this. Well, I wish I had seen it before Well, start watching it now, people. Don't regret it. Don't make the same mistake I did. Just start Mo Dao Zushi. MO space DAO space ZU space SHI. It's good. It's wild.
He
There's
spelled
boys.
it out for you.
Yeah, literally. Now you have no excuse not finding it. It's a good time.
Yeah.
And
Do you want to
it's
give
got the best in-show commercials
Oh
ever.
man, okay, so this show has in-show commercials that are fully animated to look like the show, and I got so confused sometimes. I was like, what? And then you have to look up in the corner, it says advertisement, and it's for like cornettos and all kinds of
They're
stuff.
just eating ice cream.
They're great.
The guy has the quote of "Everything cute is for me,"
Everything
and
what was the other one? It was like, be simple and you'll be beautiful or something weird like that. It was really weird.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. Did you see the part where Cornetto actually made it into the show?
Oh, where they enter the town and immediately like finds the vendor. Yes, I did.
Yeah, Cornetto's actually made it in. It's hilarious.
Canon, people, canon.
Yeah, it's a really gorgeous series, and like you were saying, I love the moments where they had some really cool exorcism scenes where they use like their instruments. Like Wei uses like a flute, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce their names. I'm not great with Chinese names. I'm so sorry. But I think his name is Wang Ji, is it? Or I think that's his name. And I know
when he uses his like kodo.
Yes.
Like the water droplet like plays it to like I love it.
Oh man, it's gorgeous. Oh, God, I love the show so much. And I know, like, in the first season, they introduced something known as the ghost hand. It was in the first episode, but then the rest of the first season went into a flashback. And then, just like Mason told me yesterday, just like I did, we both forgot about the ghost hand.
Yeah.
And then they bring it back in season 2, and I was like, oh, the ghost hand. We get to figure out
this
what that is.
season immediately leaves off from well, actually, both this season from season 1 and literally every episode it's almost like meant to be watched like back to back to back to back. Like there's not like a big dramatic rise and fall at the end of each episode. It's just like, oh, episode's over, like dead stop, like almost like they're mid sentence, and it's just like, I'm watching the next one right now.
Do you want to give a brief rundown of what Modao Zushi is without spoilers? So people who may have not heard of it know what it is.
Well, first of all, it's good.
Yeah.
I would categorize it as simply as possible, a group of magicians with all different like morals and from different houses, form alliances, or I don't want to say like enemies, but there's definitely conflict between different houses in like the methodology that they use their magic for perceived good, or the wealth of their people, or the evils that attack the world. And it's kind of this like swirling pot of just like backstabbing and just relationships between these groups as they form alliances and deal with otherworldly threats that are both natural and set upon them by like rival houses. So it's just this mangling of, I don't know, ideals and good fight scenes.
Yeah.
I would.
They're also known as spirit cultivators, I believe it was, and they can use spiritual energy and like what you were saying, like their spells or how they attack, and then main character uses what's known as demonic cultivation, which is negative energy. It's very frowned upon. But yeah, the whole first season goes into a flashback about a very particular character. It's in the first episode of that, and I think it's in the synopsis as well, that one of the characters in the past dies and is reincarnated in the current timeline. And then, then we go back in time to figure out what happened to him up from the moment, just throughout history, and figure out how he got to the moment where he is now reincarnated into a different body. And I think the part of the series that makes it really hard to, like, sometimes hard to watch is that what he looked like before in his reincarnated body looks so much alike. They look so similar, and I was thinking sometimes, like, which timeline am I in right now, because they look exactly the same. But
honestly, at the end of the day, I think the show sells itself better than what I could. Like, there's such, like, a style of humor and snideness and sassiness and, like, aesthetic of the presentation that is hard to, like, express.
Yeah.
And I would just highly recommend watch an episode or two. Like, you'd get the feel for it. You'll really quickly figure out if this series is for you or not. And trying to pin it down is a little bit difficult off the cuff.
Yeah.
it's just different. It definitely feels different, but I like it.
Yeah, gorgeous too. I definitely highly recommend it. I can't wait to get to the review of this. It'll be interesting also to hear what the others think about it.
Yeah.
So what
I
watched? Oh, sorry.
I can go through some of the things I finished, some movies and OVAs, and then I can go through some of the fall season stuff that we didn't pass for, like, passing, and kind of go over what my thoughts are on those. So first of all, I watched the Mob Psycho OVA.
Me too. I did as well.
And it was adorable and fantastic.
It was super cute.
I infamously was not a big fan of Mob Psycho season 2, but this one was super enjoyable. It was just a nice little one episode trip out to a bathhouse, and mostly consisted of just a lot of good boys getting to relax and enjoy a typical onsen experience while Reagan suffers and you laugh at him. But there's a bunch of, like, really cool shots of him, like, almost Jason Bourne style, like, jumping through, like, a window or pane, and then he lands back where he came from. It's like this really looping shot. Oh, it was so cool. And all these, like, point of view perspective when he's, like, walking a circle and you see him, like, trace around his own steps. It's great. I'd recommend checking it out. It's just a one episode watch, but I recommend.
Yeah, I do as well. And one of the characters that was in season 2 comes back and is really cool. Kind of, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to tell you who it is, but it's kind of cool just seeing him kind of part of their group now. That's really sweet to me.
I did not realize it was him at first. I heard the name, and I just, like,
because a hair change.
Oh, it's the boy.
Yeah.
So that was good. Similar how Mandy can binge 148 episodes of 20-minute long shows. I'm gonna cough really quick.
Go for it.
I binged 120 episodes of, like, a 5-minute show. I watched The Disastrous Life of Psyche K.
I started it a long time ago, never finished it.
Which I had always been, like, recommended or heard about because I've seen all of Gintama, and it's a very tangentially related kind of nonsense humor.
Yeah.
I'm dying over here, people. I'm sorry.
Right?
I'm dead.
Die.
No.
I can't do this podcast by myself.
I actually really enjoyed the Psyche K. It very much knew it had 5 minutes, and it just got right to the point of telling a funny story in that short time. And the psychic abilities were very clever and very funny, and really made you think about, like, oh, if I had these powers, how would I react? And I thought it was a very easy watch, and I don't know. I liked it way more than I thought I would.
How long did it take you to get through it?
Half a week, maybe. Like, it actually had a good flow to it. Like, I was expecting it to be like, oh, I'll watch 10 minutes here, 5 minutes here, and just, like, piecemeal it. But it actually had, like, a pretty good propulsion to it. And the characters were all interesting and dynamic, and I I don't know if there was much I actually didn't like about it. It was definitely up there. It was a good time.
What I watched of it was pretty funny, but man, I think I eventually fell off of it because gosh, I don't even know how far I got into it. There's like 150 episodes. Of course, they're like what, 3 minutes or 5 minutes each?
Yeah, it's like 5 minutes long.
Yeah, so
And at the end of the year, they like compile them into sets of like 4 or 5 episodes, so you can watch a one like 20-something minute single episode of it.
Where did you watch it?
On the internet, which I don't use.
No comment.
No comment.
I got you. I got you. I'm onto it.
I think it's on Crunchy.
Okay. Awesome.
As I check right now. Yeah, it looks like it's on Crunchyroll.
Awesome.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I've had that on hold. I think I watched 10 episodes. It was pretty funny.
I have not seen season 2 yet, but I'll probably get around to it.
Awesome.
I actually watched 3 movies this weekend as well.
Oh.
I watched.
One of them is brand new.
One of them is brand new. Came out like 2 days ago. Black Fox.
Yeah.
Which
I'm interested
was
in.
all right. It was.
Oh.
I'm not gonna. Well, you can speak about it more another day, but it definitely left the impression like this is a prelude to either more movies or like a series. I'm not really sure, but it definitely was interesting. It kind of struck me very like Kill la Kill-esque in like the main character is kind of edgy, trying to like, oh, I gotta take revenge on this family for what you did to my family kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it had some good pouts, lots of good pouts. If you like pouts, you're gonna get pouts.
Awesome.
I watched Robot Carnival. Have you ever seen that?
No, but I did see that pop up on your list. I was like, what the hell is
Yes.
this?
So
This
if
looks
you
really
were ever
interesting.
like, I would recommend it for sure. Definitely the first half of it. It's a series of 9 short films within this one film, done by a bunch of animators who at the time were a bunch of beginners. Well, not beginners, but they weren't yet the names that they have gone on to be. So it's a bunch of like people who would go on to found different studios and different styles, and it's a bunch of these experimental works. And it's great. It's like Disney's Fantasia, but anime edition. Yeah, the first half of the movie I really was jiving with, and there are some good cuts later on too, and I would recommend it for some absolutely gorgeous sakuga. Joe Hisaishi from Studio Ghibli did a bunch of the music for some of it, and it definitely has like an aged art style, but it holds up really well. And if you want something, I mean, I think only 2 of the 9 stories even have like dialogue in it or words at all. So like it's a very easy, just little artsy, but it's a good time watch that I would recommend if you want to watch something great.
How long did you say it was again? I'm sorry.
Crunchyroll. I think it's like an hour and a half.
Okay.
I watched all these movies on Crunchy. And then I finally watched the Kyokai no Kanata movie.
Which one was that?
The movie 2, I'll Be Here. It like takes place a year after the main series. And it's more Kyoan, because I recently watched Kyokai no Kanata.
Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
From the,
you just said Beyond the Boundary. I would have known what you're talking about.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
I was like, oh, yeah, I know you've seen this. Yeah, from the Kyoto Animation segment. I was like, oh, I never got around to it, so I watched that. Now I finally got around to watching the like continued follow-up movie, and it was more of the same. If you liked it, check it out. But it didn't blow me away as much as I was hoping. But Robot Carnival. That's my I guess my indie elitist pick of the week. But I also wanted to talk about the shows from this season that I watched with some people.
Yeah, same. I watched some as well. So I'm excited.
Because we only get have so much time to review the first 3 episodes of stuff, but there's tons of stuff that we either miss out on or looks super interesting and isn't, or people are going to talk about that we want to know. So I figured we could run through those and let people know what we thought of them, especially because I have like an OVA that might not all come out in time. So if that's the case, I might have to pick one of these up. One of these I will not be picking up that I watched with our Saturday watch party crew was Val X Love,
Oh, that
which
just sounds
was
wonderful.
horrendous. Oh my goodness. It
With a
was
name like
easily
that, I'm not surprised.
one of the worst anime I've seen in recent years. It was this guy who gets shacked up with like 9 waifu wannabes
Waifu wannabes?
who all have to like assault him constantly to gain his love, because
Sounds awful.
girls are nothing if they don't have the love of a man, and these 9 women in particular
What?
are Valkyries who get powered up when they receive affection from this guy, and that's how they gain their powers to fight off evil beings.
Question mark?
And it's, oh my goodness, the animation is horrendous. These 2D characters look more 2D than anything else I've seen before. Like, they're miraculously so flat and decompressed that it's almost impressive how bad they look.
It's
But,
impressive how bad they look.
It was a real bad time, and we laughed a bunch, and it got dropped immediately. So
Yeah, I was
don't
going to ask, was
recommend
it at
that.
least fun to, like, shit on with your friends?
No,
Okay.
no, it wasn't even worth it for that kind of laugh.
So it's not a Aho Girl situation.
No, it's not as
That was a fun watch.
prestigious
We all
as
watched
that.
that
Yeah,
together.
exactly. Did you have something from this season you wanted to talk about, or should I just keep on going?
I watched a few. I think 1, 2, 3, 4. I've watched 4 episodes so far of all shows. No, I'm sorry, not all. 3 of the shows that are ones that I picked, and one was a Mitsugi pick. So,
Okay.
The first one that I watched from this season so far was the first episode of Bookworm, which is the Ascendance of a Bookworm.
Mm-hmm.
That one, I read the manga for, and I was really super excited for it. It was my number 2 pick. The anime has me a little bit worried. I love the concept behind it. Don't get me wrong. That's why I picked it, is because I enjoy the manga so much. I'm just a little concerned with how empty the world feels. There are a few moments in the first episode where Mine is just taking in her surroundings of this new world. For those who don't know, Ascendance of a Bookworm is an isekai with a woman who loves books. Books are her life. She mentions books like every other like frame. She loves books, but she was working as a librarian, and there was an earthquake and a bookshelf killed her, and she's reborn into this medieval, I think, fantasy world. I think it's fantasy because I saw a little bit of possible magic in this.
Okay.
Maybe, but it's medieval world where books are almost non-existent. There are only for the incredibly wealthy, and she just needs to read, and that's all she wants to do. So she decides that if she cannot afford books because she was reborn into a very poor family, and she does have her memories, she does know that she's been reborn, she decides that she's gonna make books herself. And so I know from reading the manga that it's going to go into her trying to figure out how to make books, how to make paper, how to make ink, how to write books, and her goal is to open up a library. So, in this one, like, when she's reborn to this world and she goes out with her mother in one scene, she's taking in the surroundings, and it's just, the market has barely anything in it. I know this is like I don't know, I'm guessing just a production issue.
It's just not lively. There's
Yeah.
no like.
Yeah,
I get
it's
it.
very empty and boring, the scenery. But I love her flashback scenes, so of her previous life, because her flashbacks do this kind of like abstract silhouette style thing. Honestly, that part kind of reminds me of something like Shaft would come up with. Those scenes are really cool. And I like that when she has some kind of thought, like she's excited about something, she like internal thoughts, it goes into like this chibi moment with it's very expressive. I don't want to dive too much into this because I'm gonna have to do an impression on this 3-episode impression when we get to it, but
Yeah.
off the first episode, I'm concerned about how empty the world is, but I love mine. She's so strong. She is stubborn. She's determined, optimistic. All she wants to do is make books and create a library so other people can get books. So I love that. And I like that despite her tiny body, she's just determined to do anything to get these damn books.
She's about that book life. Okay.
About those book lives, man. What was something else that you watched?
I wanted to bring up Chubio Gekihatsu Boy, which I think is like Outburst Dreaming Boys or something.
Oh.
And I think you and I both had these as backups.
That was my backup.
Oh, we both had these as backups.
Enlighten me.
So I was like, I was kind of interested about it. And I was like, never got onto the chopping block. Let's take a look. And it was so much fun.
I'm excited. I need to watch it.
It was actually delightful. It was.
Yeah, that's one of those shows that I looked at. I was like, this is either going to be hilarious or it's going to be garbage.
I found myself beaming in the first episode.
Awesome.
So it tells the story of this girl who like transfers to a new school and she has an eye infection. So she wears like the single little like eye patch over her eye, like you see in every Chinubio show where people think they have. Yeah, exactly. So in her class, or I guess school in general, there's like a club of people who are all different kinds of Chinubio, who all have these like delusions of superpowers or fantasies of whatever. And so they all interpret this eye patch to mean that she is one of them, that she also believes that she has powers, and they like try to rope her into like joining the club. One of them's like a big tokusatsu Power Ranger guy, and he's like, oh, you're going to be Agent Pink, and he's running around, and they're just a bunch of goofballs, and there's so many great scenes of her just like with this deadpan reaction of like, what are these goobers doing? And you see like 2 or 3 of them in the background just like wailing around and flapping around and just being complete nerds about it. And it's just a great juxtaposition. But then turns out like they kind of have like skill in what they're talking about, and there's like a mystery that's kind of coming about where you're like, oh, maybe there is like an evil underground agency in the background that's lurking, that's targeting her. And like, I don't know how they're gonna play it out, and like maybe it's actually real, maybe it's like their belief
Imaginary.
in it. It's just like getting to her, and now she's starting to believe in it, and it's just it seems like it's taking itself a ton with like just enough tongue-in-cheek that they're having a ton of fun with it. The opening is fire, the ending looks great. It's like these pencil sketches that it was actually, I really enjoyed it, and awesome. I'm excited to see more.
Awesome. That sounds fun. I need to watch that. I'm going to put it on my list to watch this week.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't pass on it. And it seemed like no one was talking about it. And maybe that's just because I wasn't expecting much, but I enjoyed it. I also watched Fate Grand Order Babylonia.
I saw some people on the Discord talking about this.
Exactly. That's why I watched it, because I have seen very little Fate.
Same.
I care very little about Fate. Mitsugi is going to review this, and I was curious, like, if someone comes in knowing essentially nothing about this series, what can I figure out by myself? And I was like, these people in Discord are going to be watching it. If I have any questions, I can just ask them and be like, hey, what am I missing? And I don't need to get into spoilers or my thoughts, because Mitz will do that. But overall, I thought I was able to jump into it pretty easily. Like, I didn't need to know that much backstory. Having some watching Fate Zero, just knowing like, command seals and masters and servants.
Yeah.
Besides that, I think I could have figured out everything else. Pretty easily. I'm still dying, people. Please press F in the chat.
You need press all the Fs. Send us all the Fs.
I'm out of water. I'm pretty much out of water.
Someone, Amazon Prime, Mason some water.
Yes, H2O into the system, please. But it was yes, obviously if I had seen the prequel episode 0, if I watched Camelot movie, which isn't even out yet, that's coming out next year. Like, if I'd been way more into the Fate lore, yes, I would have enjoyed it more. But I think I got enough to know that it's more Fate, and it's gonna be fine.
It's funny. There was a delay on the stream, and I just saw you pour water out.
There's like no water in here.
But you took
Don't
the
worry.
cup, and water definitely came out.
Yeah. See, we're fine. We're fine.
Man, you just destroyed your computer. It's cool though. Got it.
Yeah, exactly.
The jokes.
Did you have anything else you wanted to discuss
there's
from
one
what you
more
recently watched?
That actually I watched a few more, but if we are running low on time,
Yeah, let's just do one more. Let's just do.
sounds good. I also watched Cautious Hero. This is another one that was way funnier than I was expecting. Did you guys watch this?
I liked the PV.
Okay.
I have not seen episode 1, but I saw the PV, and yes, it was all leading up to the one joke.
Yeah.
But I thought it was well executed.
Yeah.
Of this guy who was just, and that's like very much how I would have been in that situation, because that's how I am
Same.
in video games, where I'm like, oh, gotta make sure I'm all set.
Yeah.
0 deaths, baby.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that Nuzlocke state of mind coming in, but
So for those who maybe don't know, Cautious Hero just started up, and the first episode is out, and it's it's an isekai, but it starts off with this group of gods, and one of them is a new goddess named Rista, and they are assigning people to different worlds that need heroes. And it's sort of like a gacha system where you pull out which world you're going to get, and she pulls out an S world, and she's a new goddess, and she's like, how am I going to find a hero for this S world? Which is the hardest one. It's like the one that's in the most crisis. And the greatest peril, whatever. It's like super shit in there. But and she finds this hero, and she's looking through all these applications, and she's like, this guy has great stats. This is perfect. Summons him, and he is just super cautious about everything. I was like, finally, an isekai protagonist I can relate to.
Yeah.
He does not take any chances. She's like, come into our fantasy world. He's like, no, I'm gonna go do some push-ups. I'm not ready.
yeah. Oh my goodness, I love it.
And I also love Rista. She's so funny. She just wants his, like, there was a little bit of fan service in the first episode, but the funny thing is it was all the guy. Like every time he took off his shirt, she's like, 6-pack. She was cracking me up. I was like, man, I love both of these characters. The guy who's summoned named Seiya, he like buys, like, in order to prepare, like before they can even leave the town, she's like, here's this money, go buy equipment and like all of the armor and weapons you need. And he buys like decent armor, and he's like, I'm just gonna buy all health all like, not health potions, but like all herbs. That's all, just all healing items. That's it. I was like, clearly this guy has played games.
Yeah.
I love
Especially
him.
when you're beginning. You're not going to add like electrical resistances to your armor or fire damage to your weapon. You're just going to stock up on HP, baby. That's all you need.
Researches everything before he even attempts it.
Oh my
She's
goodness,
like,
my man.
She's like, this is just a slime. He's like, I ain't taking no chance with that. And he like obliterates it. It's so funny. I was dying laughing.
Nice.
I went into this expecting garbage, and I came out like, that was really funny, and I hope it stays that way. But
well, I will definitely check it out if the show seems to be as promising as the PV.
Yeah.
I'm game. I'm in it.
Yeah, it was an isekai I really enjoyed, and I hope it stays that way and not turn into another mom isekai one. Please don't let it turn into that.
Please just give us one good isekai
Yeah.
ever. Please, just come on. You've had this many chances.
It's really funny.
Somebody can do it.
I am concerned that it'll turn to like another One Punch Man kind of thing, where the joke will get old eventually. But
The meta is the quality of the show, and it doesn't have anything to add.
yeah,
I get
you.
you.
We'll see. But the first episode was hilarious. So
Awesome. Well, I will check that out. As well as the rest of the shows get released in the next couple of weeks, we'll definitely have more to say about it.
Yeah.
But I think for now, this was a pretty good catch up on stuff. And we did not even touch on how much manga you and I have read,
guys,
all the
Mason
shows
and
I've
I
dropped.
are some anime addicts.
We
have problems.
We try our best.
We got so much going on, but yeah, we didn't even get to finish everything on our list. So
No, that's
Next
fine. That's
episode.
fine. We'll leave them wanting more. But if you think you are an anime addict, try answering this weekly trivia question while the news break plays. Going off of our review that we're about to do, in the show Fruits Basket, who is the president of Yuki's fan club? Do you know? Do you? Do you really? Are you sure?
I mean, I do.
I know
Because
you
we got to
do.
review this.
Yeah. Listener, let us know, and we will tell you when we return.
Don't go anywhere.
Oh yeah, Mitsuki's back yet again. Time for another twisted news break where I still haven't reviewed any of these articles before I read them. First up, well, we just can't seem to get rid of Makoto Shinkai, as he is always in the news. Weathering with You has now sold over 10 million tickets in Japan, bringing its gross to $120 million. The film opened in 359 theaters and 448 screens in Japan on July 19th, and it has sold a crap load of tickets. So if you're a fan of Makoto Shinkai, you will never have to run out of lens flares and watching the same theme over and over again, because Weathering with You is still a success, proving that the formula is still valid. Next up, we have some more news here. Bloom Into You. Oh, the manga is ending. It looks like the November issue of Kadokawa's monthly comic Dengeki Daio published the final chapter of Bloom Into You on September 27th, bringing it to a close. If you're a fan of Bloom Into You, make sure you watch the anime that came out a year ago or so. You will have more content to enjoy of one of your favorite franchises. And next up, KyoAni news. Kyoto Animation's physical store is going to remain closed through March of 2020, which is not that far away. And it looks like the studio's online store is going to be open, so you will be able to buy things on the online store. This was announced back on August 14th. I think we mentioned that. Kyoto Animation revealed on its website that they are going to have the KyoAni and Do Fan Days 2019. This is what we are now. It's a festival after 2 years, the longest event title ever. The event on Friday. They're going to be canceling the first of these two planned events, unfortunately. But perhaps the other one will be held still. The first event is going to be titled Enjoy the World of KyoAni and Do, scheduled for November 3rd and 4th. Now, lastly on our news break, Sentai Filmworks has licensed Kandagawa Jet Girls, the anime. So if you are a fan of fun anime that look like girls in swimsuits, I don't really know exactly, you're going to be able to be watching this because it has been licensed by Sentai Filmworks, which means ultimately it'll end up on High Dive most likely. The synopsis is jet racing has become a mega popular extreme sport across the world when, with good reason, the jetter pilots have a high-velocity watercraft and it is paired with a shooter who blasts rival teams with a hydro gun. You can just stop right there. That equates to a cast that is nothing but girls wearing bikinis squirting each other with water, aka ecchi comedy/sports. Guess I was right after all, my previous assumption. This is going to be airing on October 8th. This is Mitsuki, and wow, what a weird, twisted news break that was. Time to get back to the podcast.
Mandy, I've got a great idea.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, what if, now hear me out, what if we did additional episodes? I'm talking hobby addicts, after parties, maybe even hentai episodes, if you're nasty.
Well, I mean, we already do all of those.
Hold on, what?
Yeah, we've been doing that for like years.
How did I not know about this?
You've been in like a ton of those episodes.
Come on, Mandel.
My name is Mandy.
Okay, Medward. You know I don't pay attention to things like that.
Like yourself speaking.
Huh? Well, I'm glad now we're making millions off these extra episodes.
Actually, they're only like a couple bucks a month.
Wait, what?
Yeah, if you go to aaapodcast.com/join, you can sign up to get access to all of our extra podcast goodness for just a few bucks a month.
Whoa, that is a steal. All right, so where do I go to sign up?
I just told you. aaapodcast.com/join. And besides, you're in those episodes.
Huh?
Just just go to aapodcast.com/join already.
この番組は JList.com の提供でお送りします。
And we're back. So before we went on break, we had a trivia question for you. The question was, in the show Fruits Basket, who was the president of Yuki's fan club? The answer is Motoko Minagawa.
Very clean. Very clean.
Was it?
It was. That was well done. We also have a 5. Yeah, the 5-star review.
Segue for you.
Bump, 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 bump. Playing the song. Writing down when the song is playing. So that Mitsuki knows when to play the drop.
We're so professional without mess,
Exactly.
man.
So, this 5-star review, which you can leave yourself by going to iTunes and doing that because we would love you and we need it. We need you. Please, listener. Please give us 5 stars.
Please help.
Just like this user who is named Yu-Gi-Oh! Is better than Magic.
That cracked me up.
That's
I mean, I guess they both have a Shadow Realm.
I mean,
You
the
can
Yu-Gi-Oh!
banish
is
people.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a better anime. It has one.
It's true. Magic has one coming up, though.
Yeah, so that will be the deciding factor. They write with the subject, thighs save lives, but lives like possessive, not like plural. So thighs save lives what? I don't know. But they say, amazing podcasts. I love to have imaginary arguments with you guys and me always being wrong. 10 out of 10 will definitely tell my friends about this podcast. Thanks for making my anime addiction worse.
I love that.
Well, thank you
in
very
his
much.
argument, we're always the one that's right.
Yeah, well, here's my
believe in
secret to
you. I
winning.
believe you're more right than we
Possibly, but here's my secret to always winning arguments. Don't be wrong ever, and you'll be fine.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So as long as you got that going for you, yeah, you're a winner in my book. But thank you for the review, and letting us win the arguments.
Thank you. Although I am skeptical if Yu-Gi-Oh is better than Magic.
Yeah. but Exodia has like tons of points, and if you were to match the cards up, how is a 5/5 grass type gonna deal with a 3,000 blue eyes white dragon? You know, like just numerically, the numbers are bigger. You cannot deny that.
I feel like Magic the Gathering has a blue eyes white dragon in somewhere.
Planeswalkers means nothing to Dark Magician Girl.
Right. So,
okay, onto a more important review.
Right. That's not true. Our 5-star reviews are very important. We appreciate it and love you.
Oh, yes, we do.
So yeah, we have a review coming up of Fruits Basket 2019. And this was one of the anime that I passed back in, when was this? Was it winter? Let me double check. It's spring. It's spring 2019. And yeah, so Fruits Basket is based off of a very old shoujo manga, that classic shoujo that came out. The manga came out in the 90s, and the first adaptation of it by Studio Dean came out in the early 2000s, which was it 2003?
I think it was earlier than that.
Let me see. I know I wrote it down somewhere.
2001.
2001. Gotcha. And so yeah, if you are maybe new to anime and haven't heard of Fruits Basket is a mystery slice of life fantasy series about a girl named Toru Handa who is currently living in not the best situation. She is currently living in a tent, and but she's still trying so hard to stay positive. And then she meets some kids from her school named Kyo and Yuki, who are part of this family known as the Somas. And so they are concerned about her living on her own out in a tent, so they offer to let her stay at their residence. And through some crazy events at this place, she discovers that they are actually cursed by the zodiacs, the Chinese zodiac animals, and if they are embraced by somebody of the opposite sex who are not in their family, they turn into the animals that they are possessed by. And it starts off in a story about how they are all there's a lot of drama in it, and how Toru helps to heal their family and also how they help to heal her as well. And this was this one was adapted by TMS Entertainment, and the director was Yoshihide Ibata, who worked on Fully Coolly Progressive. But I don't think he worked on anything else. I think that was pretty much it. Just Fruits Basket and Fully Coolly Progressive from what I saw. But, yeah, so let's just go ahead and jump into our expectations. Do you want to start off, or do you want me to?
I can start off, I guess.
Go for it.
So I had not seen the original. I think everyone's heard about the original, though. I think Fruits Basket is a name that circulates amongst anime
Very
circles.
much so.
I think especially because it's a name that is English, so like you know both the words, but you have no idea like what they mean, like what is a Fruits Basket, why is a Fruits Basket? Like I had a lot of questions about it going in, and I had heard about it for the longest time. And I also had heard that the original adaptation was kind of fell out of favor with how it ended, and I always heard it was kind of like wonky, so it was never really like, oh, like it's a classic series, but it's not really a good classic series. So when they announced, oh, there's a remake, everyone's like, oh, this is the time to watch it, because it seemed like it was fresh coat of paint. It was like gonna be the better version of it, and it was going to adapt it more truly to the manga. So I was like, okay, this seems like the best way to experience this story, and that's kind of what I went into it with.
So yeah, I remember Fruits Basket. I remember watching the original back in high school. I was like, I think a junior in high school, and I remember reading the manga straight after that. And like you're saying, the original adaptation by Dean was focused more on the comedy and kind of glossed over all of the very serious human drama in it. So Natsuki Takaya, who was the mangaka for Fruits Basket, hated it. And she was so upset that they, in her mind, ruined her story. So she said, Studio Dean will never touch Fruits Basket ever again. And so we never thought that there would ever be anything else. And I remember in the original that from reading the manga and seeing the Studio Dean adaptation, there were a lot of characters that were completely removed. A lot of things were different. And so I was excited to see this adaptation of it, and how just seeing the rest of it come to life and how they're going to handle it, if they're going to make any changes to it. And because, it's pretty old. And I remember back then it was such like a massive phenomenon in the anime world. It's like a staple for the shoujo genre. And so I was very excited to see it come back and how it looks like with the new coat of paint. Did you just want to jump into spoiler-free recommendations before we go into spoilers?
I think so.
Go for it.
So I have not seen a lot of shoujo shows. A lot of the ones I have seen have shoujo elements, like Utena or Princess Tutu. Like, yeah, exactly. like those are the closest I've been to
Josei.
shoujo. Yeah, well, I guess Princess Tutu is a little more shoujo.
Oh, that yeah.
But even then, it's not quite shoujo. It's not your Sailor Moons, which I haven't watched. It's not your, I mean, it's not this obviously. And this was like diving straight into like the pits of what shoujo is. Like, I could see the puppet strings of like every shoujo element in play of what was going on here, and that didn't make it good or bad. It was just like I finally like saw the inner workings, the mechanisms of what shoujo is and how it exists.
It sounds like shoujo some evil plot.
I feel enlightened. I feel glad that I watched it because I know I get what Fruits Basket is. This is one of those things where people are going to talk about it, so I'm glad I finally know what people are talking about. I guess I'll just say right now I'm not like the biggest fan of it, and I'm not like, oh my goodness, I can't wait for season 2. I need to know what happens. Like I could be tempted to read a Wikipedia article about like what happens in the future just to be like, okay, I get it, I got it. But it was fine. I wasn't offended by it. I wasn't feel like I wasted my time with it. It was just a show, and I was like, you know what, it's all right. That was kind of my recommendation. I could see this really connecting with a lot of people on a personal level. I could see a lot of people being kind of bored with it. So I would say it's pretty quickly shows what it is. So I would recommend everyone give it a couple episodes, and you'll quickly say, oh, this is either for me or not for me. And you can judge from there.
Yeah, I'm pretty biased. It was one of my first shoujo series.
Yep.
Well, I wouldn't say first. Fushigi was my first, Sailor Moon was my first shoujo. Then I went Fushigi, but this came out around a time where I was just super into shoujo. That's pretty much all I watched. And what's interesting about Fruits Basket is the show does appear very light and happy, but beneath its surface, there are a lot of themes surrounding trauma, abuse, neglect, loneliness, bullying, and some other dark stuff. And I think why the manga struck a chord with so many people back then is because there weren't many shoujo series out back then that were like this, and it released back in the 90s. But it was something I feel like a lot of maybe high school kids especially could turn to because it covers so many different types of struggles. And it was also a comedy with just a touch of romance, but so much more that bubbles up over time. And in the middle of it all, you have Toru, who is just a kind, loving protagonist who helps to heal all of their pain, but also has a lot of issues of her own that she needs to deal with. And this version does follow the manga from what I've read far more closely than the original did. There are a couple changes here and there that weren't massive, but the original, like I said earlier, skipped over a lot of the drama. I tried to keep more of a pleasant tone, try to focus more on the comedy, and it did not set well with the manga fans, but the anime also did have its own fans as well. So some of the characters in this were completely moved, and I like seeing them come back. And outside just a couple moments in like the last episodes, I felt like the adaptation did a fantastic job. The character designs were lovely. I adore the charming music. The second ED was so pretty. I love that one. all of the like molds of the animals as well were really cute. But I adored the warm color palette over everything. It's just charming. So I enjoyed it a lot, and I do recommend it for shoujo fans. Sorry, go ahead.
I think my last pre-spoiler comment before you say your last pre-spoiler comment is I think a lot of our listeners tended to jive with it, and it really resonated with them, and they had a lot to say. So
yeah,
I guess I just kind of want to reiterate, even if like a shoujo doesn't like strike up your strike zone, it's a classic series, and people really seem to like this version of it. So I would, like I said, give it a shot, and you'll know if it's for you or not.
Yeah, so with that, we're going to go into our spoiler discussion where we're going to spoil everything about the series. So if you have not seen it yet, you should go watch it and come back and listen to us. And I don't have a spoiler drop, I'm so sorry, but I will count down on my fingers. So you have this many minutes to get out of here, and then we will spoil. All right. So, where do you want to start?
I guess I wanted to start based on your last comment about Toru. What did you think of her?
I love Toru so much.
Okay.
Because what I love about Toru is she's so much more... Sorry, I've got hair in my mouth. So more complex than she seems on the surface. And when you first look at Toru, you think, she's just a sweet girl who just wants to take care of everyone. But when you look deeper into the reasons for her actions, you start to see that Toru is not truly as bubbly as she may seem. And she lives in a tent not because she doesn't want to bother anyone. That's kind of like her issue, is she works so hard to take care of herself, and the way she speaks to her mother's picture shows that she's still grieving pretty deeply, and she constantly puts on a mask for everyone around her, and she's terrified of bothering people. She's scared of bringing others down with her own depression, and she sacrifices her own happiness in order to help others. And over time, the show is going to start addressing that behavior because it's not healthy. That's not a healthy way to live. And that's something that she has to overcome. Of course, this is first season. We're only halfway through the story. There's going to be another one. Actually, we might not even be halfway. I forgot to look at my manga how far we are into it.
How far into it we are.
Yeah. But that's definitely something that it's going to address over time. And just like everybody else in the story, everyone in this story is healing, and while she may be the catalyst for helping the Soma family's progression, they're also helping her as well.
So I think I need this second part, because right now I agree what you're saying, where I'm like, oh, she's definitely gonna like come to terms with like how she's been acting so selflessly, and how that's gonna catch up with her, and she'll need the support of others. But for part one, she's just too like perfect and consistent the whole time. Like, she's just a little too undercooked in my opinion. Like, she's like a great character, but we need to see like the bad side. Like, it's the classic like, oh, she takes care of everyone who's sick, but then when she starts getting sick, she's like, oh no, I'm fine, and it goes back to cost her. Like, we need that on like the deep emotional level where she like suffers that, because obviously she's suffering from pain, but she just tanks it. She's like too OP. She's too optimistic, and it's a little too impractical. And like you said, it needs to build up to, so when she breaks down, we get that. But right now, I didn't like her outfits. I didn't like that she never wore the bow present she got from Yuki.
Mason.
She looks like the typical, if you go to like a women's bathroom, it's just like the women with the triangle dress. Like, that's what her outfit was.
She
almost
is
all the time.
Adorable.
She was
so sweet.
Just a little too much of the same flavor for 20-something episodes. And that wasn't a bad flavor, but it just was a little fatiguing.
Was it plum flavored?
Mind her. Like, yes, she needed to be like the cornerstone of which all these 20 other characters like revolve around and they experience healing from. Like, yes, you need her to be consistent, but it was a little too samey. And I didn't think she was bad. I just was like, a little too perfect.
Well, we did see her break down at one moment when they were all going to the family house on New Year's, and she was left all alone. She's like, no, it's fine. I take care of this all by myself. And then I think it was Saki who runs into Yuki and Kyo, is like, man, she doesn't have anyone. I wonder how she's feeling. When they rush home, they find her broken down crying in front of her mother's picture. So there are moments where we do see is she's not completely there. She's not solid.
True. I want to get into two things I really didn't like about this show right off the bat before we talk about the good things.
Okay.
What's up with ladies who just don't say what the actual problem is and then expect people to read their mind. Like, yes, I know. Obviously, she's trying to hide in her suffering so other people don't see it. Obviously, she's like, oh no, I don't want to be a bother on you guys.
Yeah.
But she could have just said, invite me with her, or say, like, I know, like, it just, I don't like the concept of like, oh, I like people having to read minds.
Oh, I'm
a big fan of communication.
Not wanting to read minds, but I don't like being a bother on people. So she's probably not thinking, man, they should have invited me. She's probably honestly thinking,
no, not that.
I'll just stay home by myself.
But they offered like multiple times, like, oh, I'll stay with you, or let's hang out, or come hang out with me. And she's like, oh, no.
Yeah.
It's like at some point, if you say no, don't be surprised when no one helps. I mean, I think it worked out in the end. You gotta talk through your issues. You gotta get it out there. And
it's hard when you're living with strangers and then you're trying to bring in like, oh, my mom died and I'm going through a lot of shit.
Even like her friends, even the best girls in the series, aka her real life friends, Witch Lady and Biker Babe.
Witch Lady?
Yeah, they were like, "Hey, come hang out, come invite you," and she like turned everyone away. So I was like, "You kind of had that coming," but that's just me. Like
she wasn't making a big deal.
I know, out of it. I know, but still, just crying at home. It's not a good look.
I wanted to cry. I do that. I was like, I don't want to go out with anyone. I just want to stay home and cry if I'm going through some shit.
Yeah, I don't know. It was overly dramatic. I didn't like the whole the hat story where she like meets this boy who gives her a hat when she's like a child, and they're like, oh, if you meet this boy later on and fall in love, that'd be very random and prophetic. That they said in like episode 6 or something. That was it was just like that was like one of the moments of like the shoujo trappings that I could really see, like,
was it?
Oh, these prophetic stuff, all these boy toys. Hat. Yeah, but then the person who's like, you're gonna fall in love with this boy later, and it's like, why are you saying this to a child? Like, why does I don't know. I want to talk about what I liked about this show.
I don't remember that. I don't remember anyone saying you're gonna fall in love with this person.
It's not saying you're going to fall in love, but someone said like, oh, if you're going to meet this boy later on and fall in love, that would be something really crazy, right? LOL, nudge, nudge, wink,
wink. Who said that?
I think it was just like one of the adults in episode 6. It was just kind of like a weird, yes, obviously they're going to meet. I want to jump to episode 14 where we meet Momiji and get his backstory. I guess we met him before, but that was like the first moment of the show I really liked, because obviously every character you meet and you instantly know, oh, their backstory is going to be tragic, and explain the reason for their personality and be like a shift or a reverse mirror of like what they are in real life. And the most happy people are going to have some of the most sad backstories. But his backstory, Momiji's, was like super interesting because they used the premise of the show of them being, these Zodiac possessed children, and how that occurrence can drive like distaste or hatred from their parents. It's like, oh, it wasn't just a classic, oh, his mom doesn't love him, so sad. Like they actually used what made the show interesting and different to like drive the important themes of parental neglect, which is very real, and like they like merge those two together to be like, oh, you're using what makes the show interesting along with a real world function to like make a backstory that was like compelling and realistic and different than what any other story could do.
Well, they did that with Kisa as well, who was the tiger little girl. That
was in 18, I believe, correct?
I don't remember
I think that was a little bit later. But yeah, it was also another good episode.
I know they all deal with those kind of issues. Kyo did as well, with parents who kind of abandon them just because they're not, it's a lot to take in.
Yeah, exactly.
Your child turns into an animal. But I know the other ones that had, I mean, the curse, interact, or the curse affects all of them in different ways.
Yeah.
I know that like Kisa also, it really affected her. Who was Hattori? Hattori did as well with his lover, and the one that I think the only one that we didn't really have like a strong effect, like strong like hatred from, it was Hiro. His mom, I like Hiro's story. Like I like Hiro's mom.
Oh yeah,
who is
yeah.
the sheep, and she's like, man, I just love sheep. It's like, oh, what a sweet mom. That she was totally cool with it and loved her child regardless. But yeah, with Kisa, when because the animal zodiacs, their hair and their appearance can also change, and she turns into a tiger, and her so her hair and her eyes are orange, and she was really bullied because of that. And that's kind of like what you were saying, is that the curse also plays into a very real world problem that kids can, you know, can happen from school. Like, you're bullied because you look different. And yeah, it was, oh, man, Kisa's story was so sad to me. I felt so bad for her, and I was so happy when she started to open up, and that was like one of those moments that just made me cry. I feel like Fruits Basket made me cry a lot.
So here's one thing that I guess I really didn't like the message of the show, and this is coming from someone who has grown up with a lot of acceptance. You know, I've never really had to like fight through social issues or a lot of depression, so I'm very ignorant on the subject. But I'm not a fan, and I could see why there's a lot of meaning to this. But for a lot of these characters, the solution to them not accepting themselves for whatever reason is they need someone else to accept them. Like, you kind of need to, if someone else accepts you, then you can learn to accept yourself. And I kind of have mixed feelings towards that, because I feel like putting the onus on what someone else thinks of you as a cure for whatever problem you're currently facing is both incredibly helpful and realistic, but also maybe not quite the best way to approach it. It seemed like everyone's solution was, well, Toru loves me now, and that's enough for me. And then they can learn to love themselves. But there was never a moment where a character like got out of their hole by, I don't want to say pulling themselves up by their bootstraps, because I think that simplifies it far more than it should, but there was never like an inner self-aligned peace that the characters obtained.
Well, sometimes people need help. Like, that's a very
absolutely.
real problem with depression, is you can sink into a hole, and that's all you can think about are those negative thoughts. And everybody needs help every once in a while. And yeah, maybe sometimes it'll take that person to say, no, you should love yourself, you're not as bad as you think you are, to go, oh yeah, maybe I'll maybe it just took that little bit of encouragement to.
And I certainly believe that. I guess I was just hoping that these characters kind of evolved or improved in different methods. It seemed like each one of them kind of used the same blueprint of recovery, and it didn't like use a bunch of different kinds. Not saying that they were bad in how they did it. I just maybe was looking for more variety of how they
well, not all of them,
got over it.
because Shigure, we don't know much about Shigure. He is
There's a lot we don't know about. There's a lot to learn.
There's a lot going on there. And then we have Ayame, who the snake, who Yuki's brother. He was always just kind of pushed to the side. His mother focused on Yuki, and so he was like, you know what? I'm going to run a cosplay shop. I'm going to be fabulous.
He is so fabulous.
I love Ayame. And
I mean, overall, a lot of the characters individually are all a bunch of fun, and there's a ton of variety and a ton of issues, and they're a good group to watch. And seeing them, especially as the episodes go on, and you really learn them, and then you just are like, here's 3 people in the room, and you can see just how the dominoes fall and them just knocking off against each other. That's a fun part of the show. That's enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, there's still a lot that we don't know about Hatsuharu. There are 2 more characters that haven't been introduced. They've been teased, but we don't really know anything about them, the last 2 of the Zodiac. And then there is the god that we don't know much about either, but we did see moments of. That's a
Well, there's
that's a
also,
thing.
I mean, characters we've seen and met,
Yeah.
but we've barely scratched the surface of like,
Mhm.
because I mean, some of the biggest players of how the house dynamics function have been like, yeah, she clearly runs the show, but how does it really go down? How did their past happen? How did this
Yeah.
caste system get developed? There's a whole lot that
Mhm.
is up in the air still. So this is definitely not a finished work, and it definitely leaves you wanting more.
Yeah, there's a lot more to explore with the curse as well, because what we do learn in it is that embracing somebody of the opposite sex is what triggers their change, but also they change when they are not feeling well, they change when they're very stressed out. There are a lot of different factors in there, like Ayame changes when it's cold, which you would figure because of a snake who, needs heat.
Yeah.
But and it's just the question of why does that happen? Why is it that somebody in your family doesn't trigger that? So there's more to explore with the curse as well, and why they are all so drawn to Akito. Did they? I can't remember now, because after I finished this, I binged through or no, actually it was in the middle of this. I binged the entire manga and read it through all over again, because I read it back in around high school, and I just recently binged through it all again. I can't remember. Did they touch much on how Akito plays into this?
Mainly just through like the flashbacks on how like she's inflicted
Right, yeah.
like stuff on Yuki, but
And Kisa, sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
And she like briefly meets Toru at the end, and they talk about like they have little mini clashes, but nothing that reveals much of anything besides what we've seen in like Yuki's flashbacks. So to me, that's very much clearly there was something going on there that was not good. But
I would also like to briefly touch on Hatsuharu. He is my favorite.
Yes, he is your favorite.
He is my favorite, and his carpets match the drapes. Which is my
How do you
favorite
know-
part of the whole show.
How do you know it's natural? And then he like
Drags
want me to
himself
show
to
you?
the bathroom.
But then Toru like doesn't get it.
Yeah, doesn't get it. Yeah. He's like, I'll show you.
Hatsuharu, what an absolute tank.
My favorite. That's my favorite
And
character.
yeah.
He is both of my favorite anime tropes pushed together, like the really aloof one and the super aggressive one. I was
Yeah.
like, perfect character here.
Dark Haru.
Push them together.
Dark Haru. He said he's great. I guess if I had to pick a favorite character, it would be I liked both Saki and Arisa.
Yes.
I think both of Toru's friends were great. I like how despite, we've got this fantasy landscape of this epic family's legacy, we're still going to give each of these characters 2 to 3 episodes each of backstory and development, because they're just important to her life as much as the Soma family, and they deserve it. And they were fun stories.
Yeah, I loved the female friendship in this. It's so heartwarming between Saki, Arisa, and Toru, because they both just love and adore Toru. It was just...
Oh yeah, they were
Yeah.
a great team.
They would actively destroy anyone who threatens Toru. They were fantastic. I love them.
It sent evil waves.
Yeah, Arisa, I love her so much. She's like the very delinquent girl from like a bike gang. I loved her. There were a couple of small changes here and there that I really appreciated, and like and they're just very tiny, not huge deals, not like any massive changes. But in the scene where Toru is addressing her relatives, and they were berating her for living in a house with men. It was that scene where she thought she was going to move back home with her grandpa, and there were other relatives there. When Yuki and Kyo show up to help her in the manga, they just bust in there and they're like, no, she's going to come back and stay with us. But in this, I really like how they changed it, where Yuki and Kyo are watching in through the window, and Yuki's like, she has to make this decision herself. And I thought that was such a good, tiny little touch, so that it shows that they're not just saving her. They want her to save herself. They wait for her to say, no, I wish I would go back with them, for them to go in and go like, yeah, you can come back home with us. And I thought that was such a nice change. Yeah, there were some tiny little additions here and there that I thought were really nice little touches. Were there any of the other characters? I feel like this series has so much to talk about because there are a lot of characters.
Yeah, I mean, just in the interest of time, I wanted to bring up episode 24, which is the big reveal of the cat boy.
Oh yeah. Kyo's true form.
Did not see that coming. It was like a very cheesy lead up. It was very corny, but it was still really shocking. And as someone who is obviously 20 years late to the event actually happening, I wasn't spoiled to it, and it was pretty cool. Like the rosary scene was very neat. At first I'm like, oh, like what, when he goes to be a cat, wouldn't like it just fall off and it go away and then he becomes the other cat? I'm like, oh no, it's a magical rosary. It doesn't matter. It makes sense. It's fine. No, it was cool. Did not see it coming, and it was shocking, and I liked it.
Is it weird that I thought his like grasshopper cat was kind of cute?
Yes.
Classic me. I find weird shit cute.
They tried to they made it kind of like gross at the beginning, and then it kind of like devolved into being kind of cute.
Apparently, honestly, like, according to the manga, he's supposed to reek. He's supposed to really smell really bad.
Yeah, they did a good job of like talking about it, but that just can't be well communicated. And they brought it up. I actually thought the animation of the show was at its best when it was animating the other stories in the show. Like they go to a movie a couple times, and the movie looks way better than the show. When Momiji is like telling the hat story, or not the hat story, like the fantasy story, the book that they read in his class about the girl who like, just is selfless and gives up literally herself for the world around her. Like that was better animated than the show itself. It's like they knew that they had like 50 episodes of this to make.
I think it was poorly animated. I thought it was actually
it wasn't poorly animated, but they're just like, okay, the like off the wall moments, let's animate those to show like, hey, look, we can animate. We just need to keep it baseline and consistent for the whole thing. So it was a little bland, but it didn't ruin or impact the story in a negative way.
Alrighty. Well, do we want to go ahead and give up our final thoughts and scores, and then we are over time. Not too much. We've had worse.
No, yeah, exactly. We're doing.
We also have a lot of social media comments as well, and we've been falling off of those. Do we want to just go through some of those as well afterwards?
Yeah, I think we should.
Sounds good.
I can go first.
Go for it.
Because, there's a lot to talk about here. There's a lot going on in this show. Let me think. This show...
I believe in you.
This show felt like an old piano in the process of being restored. Like, this is an instrument that like was once played 20 years ago. It was experienced by a lot of people when they were younger. But it's a little out of tune. It was a little bit beat up, and it never quite sounded all that good as what it originally could have. So they're like, you know what? Let's fix it up. So it's being tuned. It's got a fresh coat of paint. And the cobwebs have been shaken out of it. But in my mind, it's like not ready to be played yet. Like the piano tuner is still there, hammering away at the same key repeatedly, over and over, episode after episode. It's just very much the same note of meet character. They're going to have a sad backstory. They get healed, get the backstory, and it just goes on and on and on. And eventually, like a rabbit will jump on it taps a bunch of keys on episode 14, and you're like, oh, there's some variety there. There might be some potential to this piano. And then again in episode 24, when a cat jumps on the keys and scampers across, and you're like, oh, look at all these notes that we weren't getting for most of the show. And it's like, this series has a ton of potential. And like, one day it's going to be like worthy of playing a proper piece of music. But like season 1, just by itself, it's just a very single note from the characters and like the vibe I got watching it. And I think that moving forward, season 2 will be way better, and I could definitely jive with it a lot more. But as someone who like didn't personally connect with a lot of the issues that the characters were going through, I thought at the end of the day it was just a fine show that really didn't play the right notes for me. So I'm going to give it 6 zodiac animals out of 12.
Wait a second. So out of 5, what is that?
That's a 2.5 out of 5.
Okay.
It was very passable, and I enjoyed my time watching it, but just personally not for me.
It's true. I'm curious to see what is for you.
We will find out, hopefully.
Maybe eventually. So yeah, like I've said, I'm very biased towards Fruits Basket. I love shoujo, and the question is, did this adaptation do a good job? Going off of the original manga, yes, it does a fantastic job. It's very faithful to the source material. It nails the character drama and also the heartwarming connections that develop over the course of the show. And there's a little mystery still surrounding the curse itself, the other zodiacs that we haven't really focused on yet, and just what are these characters, some of these characters up to, especially Shigure. And there's so much more to explore, and I love the new character designs as well, and especially compared to the original adaptation. And I think the warm colors and the music mixed together to really accentuate the anime's overall atmosphere. And we rarely get shoujo series anymore. Looking back, it's like there are a lot of Otome adaptations coming out, but hardly any shoujo. The last one I can even think of is Banana Fish, and that was something entirely unique. That was super unique. We did have like Cardcaptor Clear Card come out, and we had like the Natsume movie, but there's so many like tiny shoujo series that are either skipped over because of very low production value or just largely forgettable. So it was really nice for me to have something specifically catered towards young adult women and actually gain some recognition in the anime community, because look, we deserve nice things too. It can't just all be shown in all the time. But yeah, I enjoyed it so much, and I would I'm looking forward to the next part, and I would give it 4 out of 5. 4 kale spots out of 5.
Would you
He's
say that
actually my zodiac too.
Oh, I didn't even look at which one was mine.
Yeah.
Would you say that this adaptation is the best version of this story to digest?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because like I said in the first anime, it's doesn't capture the manga at all. But of course that one also had its own fans. And the manga, there are some art issues here and there. So highly recommend this over that. But yeah. It's great.
Yeah, check it out, people. But I think it's worth going over some social media scores.
We should.
Half the people gave it a 5. Pretty much everyone other than that gave it a 4. Like, this was the people who stuck through this for the end really dug it, and I think going through some of these comments are worth it, because sometimes we just get it was good, I liked it, and people definitely put their hearts into these.
Yeah. Do you want me to go ahead and start?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
This one is from Babichi. I never saw the original anime or read the manga, but this anime has made me fall in love with Fruits Basket. The characters are so well written and have a lot of heart to them. Toru Honda is a great protagonist, and I love Yuki, Kyo, and Momiji. All of the characters struggle with deep issues like bullying, mental health issues, and even gender identity in some cases, but it never feels forced or poorly handled. In my opinion, it is the best anime to come out this year so far, along with Vinland Saga. Yes! And I can't wait for season 2 in 2020. I feel you, Bobby.
P75 writes, it was so beautiful. The original Fruits Basket was the first anime I officially watched from beginning to end, so the series is very special to me. I love everything that was added, and I can't wait to see more. Also, the second ending animation was so cute, I could cry. I love those tiny animals. Yeah, we didn't really go over the animals. They did not look realistic, but they didn't need to, because they looked so adorable.
My favorite was the boar. Or the pig. My favorite.
Oh, yeah. That was a good... they were all good. Like, they were a perfect mix between, like, chibi and just, like, defeatured, but, like, the correct size. They were really cute. The rat
I love
was
Yuki's little
awesome.
rat fingers.
The rat boy was great. Especially when he got, like, the army of rats to, like, help out in the tree. Oh, so good.
This one is from Michelle. They did a great job remaking this anime, and my hope is that with this remake, that they have a successful season 2, and hopefully this can push some other studios and creators to remake even more anime. In general, the characters in Fruits Basket felt a bit more wholesome, and the animation quality was truly spectacular and detailed. I honestly don't think they could have done much more to honor the original. It was perfect.
Sorry, got distracted. Caroline writes, a bit cringy at times, but overall storytelling that can't be done outside of manga and anime. Great show. Mariner Burt says, we'll be watching season 2. I think season 2 is going to be really good. Mexicanadian writes, both the wife and I loved it. There's more character development than the original anime and substantial depth on the storyline. High 5. Alpha DK writes, having not seen the first anime, I can't compare them to each other. I do think Fruits Basket was great. 4 out of 5. Looking forward to season 2. Sean Herman likes season 2, or is looking forward to it. Justin Herr writes, first time ever watching Fruits Basket, and I loved it. Thought the character moments really shined, and it felt nice going back to the style of shoujo.
Yeah, we also had Steven said, I thought that it was beautifully done. Every episode brought me an emotional high and low. I couldn't be happier with this adaptation. I can't wait for the next season. Jennifer wrote, I think they did a wonderful job. I'm very close to rereading the manga. And David wrote, they did an amazing job. Can't wait to see how they pace the next season because there is so much more I wish will be animated. So thank you so much for everyone who voted in our listener poll. It helps us out for us to know what you're thinking as well, and for the comments. And do we want to go ahead and jump into mailbags real quick? We ain't got mitts today. We can go ahead and do it.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, there's no rules.
There's no rules. There's one rule.
there's no rules. Put your shirt up. There's one rule.
Let's go ahead and jump into some mailbags. And if you would like to submit a mailbag to us, go to our apodcast.com, click on the click on the mailbag button to send us a mailbag, and we'll read out on the show and answer it.
Our first mailbag comes from Slinger. And they write, hey, AAA podcast crew, got a question for all of you. Has there ever been an instance where the art style of a show really carried your enjoyment of the work, so much so that you would go from either lukewarm or disliking the show to liking it? My favorite anime is Katanagatari, which is a great show and very fun to type. Just write Katanagatari over and over. It's so much fun. Anyway, and although I like pretty much everything about the show, I sometimes wonder if I would like it nearly as much if it didn't have such an eccentric art style. Thanks for all you do. Sending good vibes your way, and let's try to send some good vibes to the families of Kyo Annie. So, yes, good vibes to all. I answered this by kind of talking about shows that I think are pretty good, where the art really helped them push over the edge. So not shows I already love that, like, whose art was quote-unquote wasted on. And I do want to say I find that, like, sound and music really makes a bigger difference to me, like, normally than art. But in all these cases, yeah, the art was fantastic. I'm going to go with House of the Five Leaves, which is good story, but just super cool art. Kashurn Sins.
I haven't seen that.
It tells a simple story, but something about the art just, like, fits the mood. Mawaru Penguin Drum. Nothing like super crazy with the art. It just looks very clean, and it's got penguins, so it's got that.
Already won.
And Land of the Lustrous, just for being good CG.
I love Mononoke. You already mentioned Mononoke, and I mentioned Mononoke earlier.
I didn't, because I was going to give you the credit. But
oh, you did? Okay. I saw it in your notes, and I wasn't sure. Yeah, I love Mononoke, but I do wonder if I would enjoy it as much as I did if it had like a very simplistic art style. The stories are short and range from like creepy to bizarre to very complex, but the art and direction are what really make those stories hit home. I highly recommend it. It's so cool. The next mailbag is from Yotoru Fujita. Moshi Moshi, or Moshi Mosh, are there any voice actors that you loved in one role, but haven't or have barely seen in any other role? For me, it's Izumi Kita, who, to me, had her best role as the lead in Watamote. She's had a healthy career, but the majority of what she's in doesn't attract me. Also, she was in stuff I had watched, but before I knew her as a standout actor, she did Card Fight Vanguard, Freezing, Luck and Logic, and that terrible anime based on the Nintendo Sega console war, just name a few. I think that was a Hyper Neptunia, is that what that was? Anyways, anyway, back to the question. Basically, who do you want to see more of, English or Japanese voice actors, but haven't yet? For me, I think, because I'm the voice actor person, I'm the one who's really into the Japanese voice actors.
Yeah, I'm letting you take this one.
I said Hina Kino, who plays Hanato in Asobi Asobase. She's the super eccentric one. And I love the way she's able to warp her voice in that role. And she did such a great job of carrying the comedy. And I haven't really seen her in anything else. I looked at her list, and she has been in a few other roles, but nothing that I've really looked at. And actually, all the girls at Asobi Asobase did a fantastic job. Rika Nagai, who played Olivia, and Konomi Kohara, who plays Kasumi. They all did such a great job in that, and I've barely seen any of them in anything, so I would love to see more of them.
That show, resided on their voice acting,
yes.
And they killed it. That was so much fun.
For sure. Yeah. If you haven't seen Asobi Asobase, I recommend it. It's so ridiculously funny. But that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for sticking around with us. Mitch should be back next week, so maybe we'll have drops, and maybe this will sound great on iTunes. It's been a wild ride, and thank you for putting up with me.
No, you did great. I want to let everyone know I did literally nothing to help Mandy this episode. She was manning all the sound effects, all the screen transitions, all the starting and stoppings. So please give her a big pat on the back. Man, I will tell you all right now, it was hard preparing for this. So also give Mitz a pat on the back, because I did a lot of prep this week. But once again, you can find us at apodcast.com/join, create an account, hentai episodes, hobby addicts episodes, after parties. We are about to do a hentai right now where Mason and I might date some pigeons. We're going to talk about some hot boys.
We're going to talk about some hot tofu boys. It's going to be fantastic. So do that. Please go to iTunes, subscribe to us, help us be #1 by leaving us a review, or leave us some comments if you do not like us, so we know how to get better. And we'll see y'all next week.
Yes, indeed. Have a great one, everybody.
Bye,
Thanks for joining us.
Mwah! See y'all next week.